Hey there, my name's Paul, and this is Out of Neutral, a weekly tune-up where we look to the Bible to get in gear and follow Jesus into the life he came to make possible. And today I want to talk about what's so important about Abraham. By any standard, Abraham is a person of incredible influence. Honored by Jews, Muslims, and Christians alike, he's an important individual. In the scriptures, we're given a hint of the impact he will have by the space devoted to him. The entire history of the world up until his birth is summarized in just 11 chapters, but 14 chapters are given to the events of Abraham's life. Why is he so important? What's the significance of his life? Consider how the clues and the context make it clear what we're supposed to learn from him. Abraham is introduced in Genesis 11:31, where we learn he's from Ur of the Chaldeans. Ur was near the city of Babel, known later as Babylon, where earlier in Genesis 11, the peoples of the earth conspired together to build the infamous tower. So already we see that there's a Babel connection between Genesis 11 and 12. As we look more closely at Genesis 12 to 1 to 3, however, we see God promising to make him a great nation, make his name great, and through him to bless all the families of the earth. Aware now that there might be a connection with what came before, and there usually is, we start thinking about the connections to the account of the Tower of Babel. At Babel, the people used their technology and achievement to avoid going out into the rest of the world, instead tried to build a great tower to make a name for themselves. Seeing that they were united in rebellion against his plan to fill the earth, God confounded their plans and scattered them. But the brief account ends ominously. Human sin has invited God's judgment first in the garden, then with the flood, and now with the tower at Babel. With this third strike, is humanity now out? Has God given up? Right after the account of Babel, we're introduced to the descendants of a man named Shem. His name literally means name. God calls one of his descendants, Abram, and in his conversation with him, shows a series of connections with what's just taken place. At Babel, the people huddled together to avoid being sent out into the earth. But with Abram, God called him to leave his country and go to the land that I will show you. That journey was like a return to Eden. At Babel, the people tried to make a name for themselves through their efforts. But with Abram, God promised to make his name great through his blessing. At Babel, the people experienced God's judgment and were scattered over the earth. But through Abram, God promised to bless all the families of the earth. At Babel, the people built a tower and made a name for themselves. But with Abram, he traveled throughout the promised land and built altars to God and called on his name. As you look at the connections, it becomes clear that Abraham is God's answer to Babel. Far from giving up after Babel, God has an incredible plan that he will bring to pass through his man and his offspring. The chapters that follow sometimes seem like random episodes, but in each one, human sin threatens to derail God's plan, either with respect to Abraham's descendants, his blessing the families of the earth, or the gift of the land. In each case, God shows that his faithfulness can overcome human failure. We ought to be encouraged that God's faithfulness can overcome our sin too. He hasn't given up. As we come to the New Testament and read, "Know then that it is those of faith who are the sons of Abraham," we see what a legacy we've been entrusted with. As followers of Abraham's descendant Jesus, the ultimate solution to human sin and rebellion, we're called to faith and to go out and establish outposts where people can call on the name of the Lord. We're called to trust in God's plan and God's promises rather than make a name for ourselves through our own achievements. And through the gospel, we're called to bring blessing to all who are suffering from the judgment that this world encounters because of sin. May God stir your hope and motivate your obedience to his commission as you read his word this week. That's all for this time. Today's video has helped you get out of neutral. Leave a comment, share it with your friends, and subscribe to join us in the journey.